All right, hello everyone. All right, just because of time, I don't have a fancy PowerPoint, and I think I like it better this way anyway. So we're going to talk a little bit about some recommendations for high frequency word instruction in your classroom. All right. Um, I've got a couple recommendations, and then I'm going to explain one of them and kind of do a little bit of an example of what it could look like. So the first one with high frequency word instruction is prioritizing the words. So we have word lists that come with each grade level that we assess throughout the year, but you might find that there's other words that you want to prioritize before they get to that part. And that might be because they're irregular and urgent. So the kids are seeing them in all of their books and they don't follow what they've learned so far. So you might need to introduce them earlier. Maybe they're regular, but they're aligned to the phonics that you're teaching in the moment, and you want to highlight them a little bit. Also, they could be irregular but similar. So if you think of light, fight, night, some of those that kind of you learn, talk about one of them, they can help you learn some other ones. So prioritizing words based on your students. Next topic, or the next tip, is to focus on phonology. So talking about syllables, how many syllables does the words have? How many sounds do you hear? What does your mouth do when you make these things? So talking about the words in that way. Next is repeated reading. So if you're doing a shared reading that has some high frequency words, then maybe you do some orthographic mapping with it, which we'll talk about next. And then maybe the kids are doing independent reading with it until they're fluent with those words. So repeating it as much as possible. And then the last thing to talk about, we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth, is the idea of orthographic mapping, where you're talking about the sounds and showing how the sounds actually match to the letters on the page. So, orthographic mapping, what is this? I feel like anybody who's listened to many of these 5-Minute Fridays, you hear me learning lots of things. These are one of the things that I didn't really know about before. I taught sight words a lot of the ways, like I talked about last week, where you have the kids repeat them a bunch, and they write them a bunch, and they write it with fancy colors, and they, see it all the way and all over the place, and why aren't they learning it? And this one really changed my way of thinking about it a little bit. So the one thing they start off talking about is trying to embed it across your day. Interactive writing is a super great place to do it because you can have all kids with whiteboards and you can have them practice writing the words and talking about the sounds as they're doing it. But you can do it at any parts these days. You might come up with a cool word that you want to talk about, a high frequency word, and a read aloud. And you might just grab a marker and go on the whiteboard and talk about how the sounds match the letters. So I want to give you a quick example of what this might look for. Here are a couple of steps that you might use if you were introducing one word. So say word and activate meaning. So today we're going to practice an important word. The word is does. Listen while I use does in a sentence. My brother does his homework before watching television. Right? Now close your eyes. Listen while I say the sound, and it sounds slowly. Does. Say does slowly to yourself, putting up a finger for each phoneme, each sound you hear. That's right, it has 3 sounds. Repeat, and you can stretch it like does for the students. Now, watch while I write the letters does. Gonna scoop this up for you. Watch while I write the letters does and say it slowly again. Does. Add steps 4, 5, and 6. Let me show you the letters that go in each sound in does. D, z. So I'm going to mark it over here. D, z. Isn't that interesting? This part actually makes the short U sound, the sound. And this S is making the Z sound. So the D is actually the only letter that makes the sound that I learned for the letter D. Isn't that strange? So let's read it again. Does. Now, so you say does slowly, matching each sound as you write it on your board. Give them a little time to write it on their board. Let's read what you've written. Erase does and write it one more time. Oh, we're here on number 6. Too much stuff on my desk. Listen while I use does to ask a question. Does a camel live in the forest? Now use the word does to ask your partner a question. Can you answer your partner's question? All right, so the idea with this is, as you can see, you're saying the word, you're going through all these different steps, and while we do that, we're able to draw attention to the phonemic patterns that we've learned already, and then also talk about where it differs. And this helps by using this and then having the students practice writing it and reading it. That's where it really gets locked in to their memory and helps move it along that that process to help it become I want to say a trick word because that's what we use all the time now, a sight word, right? Okay, awesome. Next week, we're going to be talking a little bit about, give it a try. This is something that you can literally try in any part of your day with a word that you want to. It can be different words based on the group you're working with, but having them match that sound to the letters. Yeah? All right, next week we're going to be talking about the 3 cueing system and how we can use that because that's something that's also come up a lot as of late. All right, thanks.